All right, everyone, it's go time. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada. My name is Bob Alto, and I go by the pronouns he, him, his. In this community, you can pass from fear to a joyful here, where gratitude, justice, self, and spiritual growth abide. And it matters not your gender, your age, your sexual orientation, your socioeconomic or immigration status or ethnicity. You are always welcome here. As a newcomer or visitor, you're especially invited to fill out the newcomer form as indicated on the screen, or you can access directions in the chat function. Since we're all meeting on Zoom, please note you can update your name on screen, which helps everyone know who you are. Note that you will remain muted during the service, but you can use the chat box for comments, especially during the prayer and meditation session. As a courtesy, please refrain from posting announcements while folks are presenting. Following the service, I invite you to join us for coffee time when we break into small groups to visit virtually face-to-face. Thank you for being with us this morning.
We're invited to come fully present into this space this morning. Through the mystery of connection, we come together. Our ties that bind us are of mind, heart, spirit, and we ponder those connections this morning as we come together. And today we are invited to consider curiosity, a spiritual practice of curiosity. Let's ponder and consider what that might mean for each of us and our community. Be curious. You're invited to access your chalice this morning as we begin our service by lighting our chalices together. And Kristin will light our chalice for us here in the great room as I offer these chalice lighting words. From Kathleen McTeague. Into this home, we bring our hunger for awakening. We bring compassionate hearts and a will toward justice. Into this home, we bring the courage to walk on after hard losses. Into this home, we bring our joy and our gratitude for ordinary blessings. By our gathering, we bless this place. In its shelter, we know ourselves blessed. As we are all about questions and curiosity this morning, Glenn Thomas Rideout has a wonderful piece to kick us off.
When Paul Gauguin was a child, before he was the famous French artist, he was a Catholic student who was learning catechism. He had a particularly rebellious teacher who thought it wise to create his own fundamental questions to guide the decisions of life. Even though Paul did not stay a Catholic his whole life, the questions stayed with him. And the truth of them spoke to him right until his last years and his last day. Painted in Tahiti, the title of the French artist's work, Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? What are we? 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 What are we? What are we? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? What are we? Where do we come from? What are we? Where do we come from? What are we? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we come from? Where do we come from? Where come from? Where are from? Where we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? What are we? 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 Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Where are we
From Rainier Maria Rilke. Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves like locked rooms and like books that are written a very foreign tongue. Do not now seek the answers which cannot be given you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer.
Today, we're all about considering a spiritual practice of curiosity. What does it look like to be curious? We want to ponder not just some questions today, but the process of what it looks like to consider questions and to engage them with curiosity. You know, when I think about curiosity, I think about deep listening. Being curious can be an important part of deep listening when we can listen without judgment, without preconceived notions, with an open mind and heart, as if encountering something brand new as a blank slate. And so I'm going to invite us into that space today as we consider a spiritual practice of curiosity, being curious. Coming from a place of deep listening, having no judgment, no preconceived notions, striving for an open mind and heart, and acting as if we're encountering something brand new as a blank slate, as if we've never heard it before. Throughout Unitarian Universalist congregations, a question and answer service with leadership is sort of a staple. Many congregations do a service like this once per year. And to my knowledge, it hasn't been done here in many, many years, if ever. So we're experimenting today with what is somewhat of a staple form of worship that happens a lot throughout Unitarian Universalist congregations.
The practice of curiosity, the social, spiritual practice of curiosity is actually something that's deeply woven into Unitarian Universalist principles. The search for truth and meaning is part of what we're all about. And so today, Karen and I are not offering you answers to anything. We're offering you our thoughts and our reflections, and we want to invite you to explore and be curious and search for truth and meaning with us. So we have a couple of questions that we're going to answer today, offer our thoughts and reflections on today, based on things that were shared with us, questions that were shared with us. And we'd like to invite you to also answer the questions, whether in your own thoughts or in the chat box this morning. So as you hear the questions, we invite you to think and be curious and also share some of your own reflections with us as well.
The question that we'll begin with today is this. I'm wondering about the history of the Spirit of Life song and how it came to be the weekly UU song. We actually don't sing it each week. And this person continues, I'm also curious what the song means to you personally, if someone could sing it on Sunday while the rest of us mute, but sing along. So just to remind us about this song before Kristin and I respond, we're going to ask Bill to take a moment and just sing Spirit of Life one time through.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, flow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life a shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Spirit of Life was written by Carolyn McDade in the early 1980s. And there's quite a story to it, but Carolyn McDade is very active and was very active in what she calls just social movements, and not necessarily one social movement or another, but all of them in a holistic kind of way. She says that social movement was my healing, seeing my life as part of other lives. So in the early 1980s, she went to a friend's house and she was feeling really drained from the movements that she was a part of. And she says that what she remembers really clearly before writing this song was she got to her friend's house and she said, I feel like a piece of dried cardboard that has lain in the attic for years. Just open wide the door and I'll be dust. I was tired, not with my community, but with the world. She just sat with me, her friend, and I loved her for sitting with me. And then she said she went home after that experience, and what came out of her was this prayer. She did not imagine it as a song or a hymn or anything like it. It was her prayer. She said it was a request for support, for rest, for renewal, for perspective. She said she prayed that she would be able to continue in faith with the movement, and that she wouldn't drop out. So that's what the history of Spirit of Life is. Carolyn McDade doesn't actually consider herself a Unitarian Universalist. She also doesn't consider herself a musician at all. This was her prayer. It wasn't meant to be a song. And she was actually surprised when she found out that Unitarian Universalists were using it so regularly. And the other thing I'll say before I pass it to Karen is that Carolyn McDade is also partially responsible for our water communion, which is, of course, a very important ritual that we do annually.
In terms of what this song means to me, it speaks to me differently in different times when we sing it. But one of my favorite phrases is, "Roots hold me close, wings set me free." And that is what we hope to give to our children. It's very important, the saying about roots and wings. It's sort of the ultimate both and. But I love to think about that and then think of that about that, including all of us and expanding to all of us as striving for roots that hold us close, deep within our community, and wings that set us free to have adventures and explore our spirituality, freedom to really be who we are within a community that roots us and therefore enables us in the kind of care and confidence to be able to do that. So thank you for that question about Spirit of Life. The next question that came to us that we'll consider is this: I have difficulty embracing the first tenet of Unitarian Universalism, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Could you define worth and dignity? I can accept the inherent humanness of every person, but that doesn't make much sense. I can accept that every person is born with inherent worth, but I feel some individuals squander their congenital worth.
I decided to actually look up the words worth and dignity and actually look up the definitions. And if you all are interested in multitasking, you can do that as well right now. It's not a fun practice. So when I looked up the word worth, it was kind of icky. It's very associated with monetary worth. And so it really, all the definitions that come up as the first things that you find are all about how much you're worth as a direct link to how much money you have or how much money you're able to make and that kind of thing. It's very capitalistic. Obviously, we don't think about it that way. The other definitions that come up are about being useful or valuable. And I think we would think about this as much more of an essential quality and not our usefulness necessarily in that same kind of way. Dignity comes up, the definition is generally around being worthy of honor and worthy of respect, which I think is more closely related to what it is that we think of when we think of inherent worth and dignity. The piece of it that I usually hold on to when I think of our first principle is the inherent piece, that inherent word. Because to me, what we mean is that our very most essential, most core piece of who we are as a being, we are worthy of love. And so it all goes back to that very, very core piece of who we are. It doesn't really matter so much necessarily what it is that we've done. It's who we are at our core.
I think that's a wonderful distinction to make. Who we are inherently is often different than our behavior. And we see that in other people in behavior that we disdain. And it's often true of us too. When we look at ourselves, our behavior is not always what we would hope, but that's very separate than who we are at our core. And one of the things that sort of thought process or idea that helps me with this first principle is the idea of redemption. Being in ministry and throughout my career, it's important for me to understand that no one is beyond redemption. No one is full. That there will be an opportunity for them to become enlightened. so I'd live with sort of an eternal hope that no one is beyond redemption, that everyone is redeemable, and we hope that for everybody. We even hope it for the worst of the worst, that we that we observe and are aware of in our world. And the other piece to remember along with that is that we have all of us have shadow sides and our most best and highest self side. So it's a both and proposition that we see in ourselves, and we have to recognize that when we look out at the world and we hope for redemption, and we strive for that ideal of our first principle of the worth and dignity of every person. So that's a great question. Thank you for submitting that. The next question that we'll ponder is, Kristin has been asked to say a few words about her coming journey becoming a UU minister.
My guess is that the process of becoming a minister is lifelong, but in the immediate near future, I will be applying for and hopefully getting an internship. I'll need to do a year-long full-time internship at a congregation that I'm not currently connected to. So at some point in the near future, I will have to go away and do an internship somewhere. And I've been exploring what it is that I would like to, what kind of learning I would like to do. And so what kind of congregation will help me with that learning. At least for the next year, my plan is to be here though, and stay here while I do some more work on the packet of materials that I have to submit to the Unitarian Universalist Association. So I'll be doing some additional work and additional learning before I go and do that internship. And then after the internship, then I bring all my materials together and I get all my letters of recommendation and all of my everything that's needed. And I go in front of the Unitarian Universalist governing board and have basically a glorified interview with them. And they get to decide whether or not I'm ready to actually be serving a congregation or serving in a ministerial capacity.
We will be so proud to launch Kristin into full-fledged ministry at some point into the future, and to follow where she will serve and all of her successes. So that will be a great honor and a privilege that we will share together in coming times. The next question is, when is Reverend Karen's next sabbatical? 2021 was to be a 5-month sabbatical for me, and that obviously didn't happen because of COVID. But I have taken a couple of mini sabbaticals, 1 month in January and 1 month in June. And I don't foresee taking any more in calendar year 2021, but depending on what happens with COVID and the ensuing months and the ways that we're able to find different ways of being together, the hope is that I might be able to take a couple more months sometime in early 2022. So I'm taking it in small bites over time rather than one large chunk, and that seems to be working fine for me and for the community for now. So those are very preliminary plans, always changeable as everything is in this current environment. But that's the hope as of right now. And so the final question that we'll take a few minutes to consider is, what are your thoughts on reopening, and what will our future services be like in the next few months?
I appreciate this question because it's something we've been wrestling with daily. But the part of it that I really appreciate is the question of, what are your thoughts on reopening? And something I think we've done really well during the pandemic is to remain open and remain connected with one another. And so I don't think of this next stage of our time together in community as reopening, but reimagining how we're going to be in community with this new reality of what's around us. I think the invitation is for us to continue to be creative and innovative about the ways that we can continue to be open, even though there's changing reality with the pandemic and everything else around us. So I'm excited about continuing to be creative and innovative about what it means to be open.
Well, there's hardly a moment that goes by that I'm not thinking about this in some kind of way and pondering it and trying to figure things out. And I think kind of what we're seeing right now is some shifting of our priorities. The first while of COVID, our priority was inclusivity. And so we immediately took our services and all of our programming online so that everybody could participate in that way in a safe manner. And now that we have the opportunity to have the vaccine, and I would venture to say that most of us have had the vaccine, our priorities for mental and spiritual and communal health are rising to the top. And we have to figure out safe ways to be together. And so, although plans are always changeable depending on what happens, we have to pivot sometimes immediately. Our hopes for the coming weeks include an outdoor service for water communion here on campus and on Zoom next Sunday. And the following Sunday, I'm excited to tell you that Emma's Revolution will be here with us. And we're hoping we'll be able to do an outdoor service with them at the end of the month. And then Labor Day weekend, we will have another Sunday with the worship leaders in the Great Room to continue our learning curve of our multi-platform system in the Great Room, which is an extensive learning curve that we need to get a number of volunteers up to speed with. And then September 12th, we're hoping, depending on how things look, to figure out how we can begin to gather for worship in the Great Room, safely distance masked, all of those things. We have a lot of unanswered questions about numbers. Can we sing safely? All of those kinds of things. So those are the kinds of things we're pondering and trying to figure out. But that's the horizon, the landscape as we're looking at it this moment. Always knowing that we might need to pivot depending on how things change or what comes up. But that's our hope and what we're thinking of at this time.
Just add a little bit to that. Karen mentioned that we want to be able to bring people together safely. And I think what we mean by that is bringing people together in meaningful, safe, deeply spiritual and loved and connected ways. And we know that that's not only going to be online, and we know that it's not only going to be in person in the sanctuary, and we know that that's not only going to be in person outdoors. And so the idea is that we're going to create a variety of ways for us to be together as community, even if that means that sometimes community and togetherness will look different for different people. But we'll still be connected in this UUFNN community, in whatever ways it makes most sense for us to feel safe and connected and whole. And I think that's the last of our questions for now.
I think I'm going to add one thing.
Okay, Karen's going to add something.
As we're talking about this, I do want to say to you that how grateful I am for you and all the ways that you have stayed connected, even though it's not ideal and what we would prefer for many of us and in many ways. And also just appreciate so much your understanding and your patience. In March of 2020, we had to overnight pivot and undergo a steep learning curve to immediately get everything online. And we have tried to grow and improve over the months in the last year and a half in how we do that, and consistently looking for ways to bring more quality services to you, more participatory. We tried to be creative about that. And now, a year and a half in, we are learning yet another mode of doing worship, and that is our multi-platform system that we're learning and figuring out, and we'll take some time to do that. So I just wanted to say to you, we really appreciate your patience, your understanding, grace extended as we go along in yet another learning curve that will allow us to be together in some different ways and include everybody in a balanced kind of way. You know, every time we encounter a challenge or a crisis, there's opportunities that lie within that. If we can bring forth our creativity and ingenuity and innovation and our best selves, we can often devise and create things that we never could have imagined without the challenge or the crisis. So that's where we're headed, and that's our hope. So we invite you to come along, and thank you for being on board in all of the ways that you have. There is excitement in these opportunities and some different ways of being together. And there's nowhere I'd rather be trying to figure this out right now. So I love the community that you are as we embark on yet another adventure together in the coming weeks and months. And look forward to us all continuing to practice a spirit of curiosity together as we proceed on this journey. Blessed be.
Now is the time in our service when we have the opportunity to share our bounty with each other. Your generosity, whether big or small, does make a difference. Since we're not physically together to pass the basket, we can do so virtually by texting 73256, putting UUFNN in the message box, and hit send, then follow the instructions to provide your offering. You can also mail a check to the office at 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno, 89511. The most convenient way is to donate to sign up for automatic giving. Contact the office and Carol will send you an automatic draft authorization form. Our Share the Plate recipient for this month is the Heart Foundation, and it helps veterans and seniors daily who desperately need caregivers to help them stay home and maintain their independence. In these times of transitions, anxiety, and challenges, our UU spiritual community has kept us alive and thriving through the gifts of service and spirit and support, from phone calls to meals to active outreach through our UU board, the Borderlands Justice Team, Verdi Posse, etc. Love, compassion have been expressed in so many ways. So let the offering begin. Will you please join with me in the dedication of the offering to the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy. We dedicate ourselves and these our offerings.
Here's another great question to ponder from our choir.
I invite you to join me in a time of silence and connection to one another as we bring forth all of the things that are on our heart this morning. Feels like there is so much that is up right now, whether it's COVID or smoke or the fires all over the country or Haiti or Afghanistan or Japan or any number of other things in the world that are on our hearts today. We come to this place with so many things in our personal lives and in our professional lives and just everywhere around the world that we're holding. And it's with gratitude that we come together and hold these things together as community. In particular, in this community this morning, I invite you to hold Jennifer Cullison, who is recovering from surgery that she had this last week for breast cancer. She's surrounded with friends and family. And I invite you to hold Mary Ortiz, who is home after a visit to the hospital yesterday. And we send prayers and love to Mary for continued management of pain. And we hold Chris Hyland this morning, whose mom died early Thursday morning. And Chris's brother-in-law, John, is also in the hospital with COVID. And let's just take some time now to share any other joys and sorrows that are on your heart this morning. You're invited to share them in the chat so that we can all hold them with you. I invite you to place a hand on your heart, feeling not just all those things that are on your heart this morning, but also that spirit of life that Carolyn McDade reminds us of that's flowing through us and through each other. And to extend another hand to say, we are with you as a community, and we send that love and compassion out to each other and also out to our extended covenantal communities and families and loved ones, and to the inherent worth and dignity of everyone around the world. We are connected to one another. Amen. Blessed be.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentations. I feel the real, though far off hymn that gets a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing?
I want to thank you so much for joining our service today and hope that you have received something you needed from this time of being together. I invite us to continue to engage a spirit of curiosity in the coming weeks and months to look for opportunities to see how we might engage in community, to see how we might be together, and to really, even in these times, especially in these times, to really rise to the great potential that lives in our community. And we need everyone participating and putting their best gifts forward for that to happen. And thank you for all of the ways that you do that. I'm going to encourage you over the coming weeks to really watch your email carefully. As I mentioned, we're going to hope to have a couple of services upcoming outdoors, and that will be dependent on the levels of smoke. We're hoping for improvement of that so those can go forward, but we may have to make some decisions last minute regarding that. So watch your email carefully for communication so that you know whether the service will be outdoors and online or on Zoom only. If you know of anyone who needs support, please let us know that so that we can connect them with the kinds of support they might need and with our community. And please do share this worship link with family and friends who would enjoy being together in this way. You're going to be invited to stay online for small group conversations and coffee hour after our closing song and the benediction. You're invited to take advantage of that opportunity for more connection. I'm going to invite us to participate together in singing our closing song. It's one of my favorites from Emma's Revolution, and I invite you to pay particular attention to the lyrics. I will stand.
In the warmth of your presence, I am safe at home. I will stand. I In the deepest conflict, I am not alone. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand with this spark in my hand. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will stand in myself when I'm not feeling strong. I will stand, I will stand. I will tear down the walls and sing a freedom song. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand with this spark in my hand. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will gather the courage I have found in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will honor the vision of who I will be. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand with this spark in my hand. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand with this spark in my hand. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand.
Beloveds, may we bring to life a spiritual practice of curiosity as we move forward through our days and in our community together. And as the song says, may we each stand in the circle with the circle wide open in each of us. Blessed be, namaste, and amen.
Ooh,
Are we the only two here?
no. So I need to see if Betty Holtz wants to join or if Sue
Okay.
Clark wants to join.
Why can't I see either one of those?
Because you're not the host.
Ah, okay. I'll be here.
Let me see here. Where? Let's see, Betty.
Are you just kind of texting to them or what?
I'm clicking through, I'm asking them to unmute, and then I can speak to them right on the, like we are talking right now.
Got it.
Betty, I don't know. Miss Betty Holtz, did you want to join? See if I can. Let me see here. Sometimes they don't accept and mean to, but they kind of forget. Daniel's still on. Just kind of wait a minute and see.
Now, we had a person by the name of Emily Lindstroth who is relatively new.
Sheila, and
Yes.
I don't see how meeting, but I don't see that. I don't know how to do that.
You need to, okay, so let me see here if I can get you to, so you want to go into a breakout room, right, Betty?
No, I want to leave the meeting.
Oh,
I didn't see, usually down in the corner, it says leave meeting, but I don't see any place to do that.
well,
I don't know why.
I can help you. It should say, yeah, you're right, it should, but I can just help you leave if you want
Huh?
to. I can make you leave. I can get you to
Maybe
exit.
Betty wants to be online for a week or so.
Well, I was listening to a video put out by the New York Times, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get, I mean, I was going back to that, and I couldn't figure out how to get out of here.
Oh my goodness. Betty, if you want to say goodbye, I will remove you from.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Betty.
Bye bye, Betty.
Bye-bye. Bye, thank you.
Bye.
You're wonderful. We depend on you, and I didn't know what to do. I thought I closed all the Zooms, but
I know it's tricky.
it's tricky. I'm glad you know the trick. I'm glad you know the trick.
I fake it till I make it. All right.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now, I would have known how to do that if I had her on my screen. I go to the three dots and there's an option to remove her.
Okay, so that's good. Yes. And
Yep.
as co-host, you have certain options. So yes, you're absolutely right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's perfect. So what's confusing and what is hard with the breakout rooms, and I struggle a little bit, is sometimes people don't accept. So that's where they remain in the room like Betty did. So I like to unmute myself, make myself visible, and say, that's when I just talk to them and say, and sometimes they have walked away and gotten their cup of coffee. So I wait a while, I do, and then I just remove them because I feel like, they don't, I don't think they want to know. I already thought I stopped recording.
Yeah, now I was texting